Hi, today we're talking to Joe from Somerset. How are you, Joe?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
No, you're welcome. Would you like to tell us your stroke story?
Okay, yeah, well, I'm 50 years old now, and but when I was 47, so 3 years ago, around about this time last year, so this is currently April. So, and I always remember the date. It was April the 20th. And when you have a stroke, you remember the tiny things as well as the major things like having a
Mhm.
stroke. But it was a Saturday morning. My partner and my oldest son had gone out. They were walking the dog. I was at home getting ready to go out with my youngest son, and we were all going to go to a medieval jousting event in Glastonbury, which is nearby. And so we're all looking for that. But suddenly, as just after I was cleaning my teeth, I felt a bit dizzy, and I felt a bit like I have had sunstroke about 10 years ago, and I felt like that. I felt very, very dizzy and very, very ill suddenly. So I was vomiting and sick. So I thought I must be food poisoning. So I told my youngest son, I can't drive. We can't go to the medieval jousting event because I'm feeling really sick. Unbeknownst to me, what I was in fact saying to my youngest son was blah 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 blah,
Oh,
because
gosh.
my speech was going, my face had started to droop. I told him I just managed to understand to call my partner who came back. It was just around the corner, thankfully. So within about 5 minutes there, and she basically said, "I think you're having a stroke." So, which comes as a shock when you're 47 and well, and about to go out with your family and do all sorts of things. And it gradually got worse, and I just felt like, I think I need a lie down. And so I sort of had to fall where I was, and luckily the ambulance came. The ambulance took me. Once again, it's the minute details you remember,
Mm.
because there's an element of post-traumatic stress that you get with a stroke, especially when there's no warning for it. I didn't know anything about my blood pressure or anything like that. So taken in an ambulance, taken in a stretcher down my stairs, whisked off to nearby Yeovil Hospital, which is about 40 minutes away, but thanks to the ambulance, it was about 25 minutes away. And various things happened, which were completely strange and alien to me. I was taking scans. I was put on not an ICU, but the next level ward, which
Mm.
is you're closely monitored. And it transpired that I'd had a hemorrhage. So instead of blood clot stroke, I'd had a hemorrhage, and it was in fact in my pons, which is the bit at the back of
Mm.
your head where it's attached to your spine. It's really serious, and I laugh about it now, but the fatality rate is quite high for that type of stroke, hemorrhage, and in there, it's very, very difficult for surgeons to get to. You can't do an immediate fix. You can't even do a tricky one afterwards. So gradually, after a couple of weeks closely monitored, a couple of more weeks on a normal ward, I was gradually getting back to myself ever so slowly. So part of one side of me didn't really work. Had to do a lot of physio. And one of the strangest things was the double vision, where I could not see, only if I covered up one eye. I could only see really, the double vision was so intense. It was, pretty much blind unless you
Yeah.
just covered up one eye. So I luckily saw the eye expert at the hospital, and they got fitted me with a sort of a prism glasses so that I could at least see. But that was strange. I mean, I couldn't really. I mean, I could wash myself, for example, in the hospital, but only with one hand. And when
Mhm.
you're used to doing things with two hands, and you like trying to wash your face or clean your teeth or anything
Yeah.
like that, it's all difficult. And lots of other people will have that for a number of months or years after a stroke. But for me, it happened. I was relatively lucky despite having a very, very potentially serious stroke in a very, very serious place. Within about a month, I was back at home. I had physiotherapy. A physiotherapist came round to see me every couple of days, every week or so, took me for walks, and then I started to walk the dog, and I built it up gradually. And I think one of the first times I took my dog out was to vote. I posted something on Facebook at the time, so look at me multitasking, or walking with a dog and voting, because this was a major thing for me, something you do every year, but this was a major thing to be able to do. And so gradually it got better and better. And meanwhile, I'm a freelance journalist by trade. So if I don't work, I don't get any money. Luckily, all my clients were really, really good, as you would hope they would be. And when you're ready to come back if you want to come back part-time. So I made some arrangements with them around June. So it's about 2 months after I'd had my stroke, to come back incrementally. So to come back, do a little bit, do half a shift here, do 1 feature a month instead of 2 or 3. And I actually started with various things like doing my online banking. I sort of test it out, using a computer again, looking at a computer screen, all of the basics that you forget about. But once you've had a stroke, these become major things. So I did that. And then as part of my journalism, I help out with the Glastonbury Festival, which is nearby. I'm one of the judges on their emerging talent competition. I had hoped to go to their live finals a week after my stroke, which I still thought I would be, where everyone in my bedside was thinking, you are not going to go. But I did go to Glastonbury that year. So that was towards the end of June. And I took it slowly. I made sure I was going to certain stages that I knew were near to each other. And if there was a band I liked on the other side of the festival site, hang it, I was not going to go. So I felt quite pleased with myself. Got lifts in and got the bus in because I live so near, and so I didn't have to stay there. And that was a major thing. So gradually, each year that goes by, each month that goes by, I managed to do more and more. And I'm back at work full time now. It's 3 years ago. But as I said, the sort of the PTSD that you get from this is sort of the mental health side. The way I recount it now, I can laugh about some elements of it, but it's very, very stressful, very, very, and there's it gives you a certain vulnerability and anxiety that you didn't really have before. And so you feel, as people get older as well, you feel a bit more vulnerable in life. And so I've had to do sort of rely on people more. I go to my GP now and things like that. I didn't used to I rely on health workers and people like that occasionally, but hopefully, as people can see, I'm more or less, people would just think he's exactly the same as he always was. But deep down, I think mentally it will always be with you, I think, having a stroke.
Yes, I think that's the hard side of having a stroke. When you look from the outside to everybody else that you're okay, but you're screaming, no, I'm not, I'm different.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the things that charities like Different Strokes are good at, in that it's getting past the kind of misconceptions. So before I had a stroke, my misconception was broadly kind of what almost happened. You lose feeling on one side of your face, you sort of become a bit paralyzed, you have to have hospital treatment, and then you can gradually get better, but it can be a learning process. But what I didn't know anything about was the effect that something like that. I mean, I'm lucky I've never been in a car crash or an accident or anything like that, but I would imagine it's very similar. It's hard to get past the feeling of waking up thinking you're going to a medieval jousting event, and in fact being taken in your pajamas on a stretcher down your stairs into an ambulance, and your life has changed forever. So that is something that impacts on your life that can't be underestimated.
Dangerous thing, cleaning your teeth, obviously.
I won't be making that mistake again.
But at least you had clean teeth when you went into hospital.
Every cloud has a silver lining.
Well, exactly. Well, it's good to see you've come out the other end of it, Joe, and enjoy many more Glastonburys as they start up again.
Fingers crossed. Looking forward to this year's one with
Yes,
Paul McCartney,
exactly.
my hero.
Oh, he's a bit old these days, though.
Never too old for a Beatle. Cherish the Beatles.
Oh dear. Well, thank you very much for talking to us today, and hopefully we'll hear from you again after Glastonbury to find out how it went.
It's a
Thanks
pleasure.
again, then, Joe.
Thank you.
Bye.